Happy Thursday evening, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Grading the Market, part of the Sweep the League TV network. I am your host, Jacob Eric Cancino, and today we are going to go over some do's and don'ts in the hobby. All right, this episode is going to be particularly for collectors who have just entered the hobby, and we're just going to do some tips and tricks. Like I said, do's and don'ts, things to look out for, and stuff like that. And helping me today is going to be fellow collector Anthony Turk. Let's go ahead and bring him on.
Hey, what's
And
going on, Jacob? Thanks for having me.
no problem, man. How have you been?
Good, good, good. Working, family life,
How's the hobby
collecting
been for you
cards.
lately?
What's that?
How's the hobby been for you lately?
Good, good, good. I got a nice hit here recently. A Marvin Harrison Jr.
Nice.
Kaboom. So
Uh,
can't complain.
can't complain. Oh, that's right. You shared that picture with us and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Yeah. So on this, right now, Anthony, we're just gonna go over some do's and don'ts and stuff like that. So, yeah, Rudy Campos, he left the keys to the studio out there, so I went ahead and snagged them up. All right, so we got to make sure we turn off the lights and clean up before
Hey,
we leave,
hey.
so that way he doesn't notice anything and stuff like that.
While the cat's away, the mice will play, right?
Hey, speaking about cleaning up, Anthony, we're going to go ahead and dive right into our first subject. I guess we're going to go ahead and cover our dues. All right. One of my favorite things that I'm always preaching about the hobby is the importance of organizing. Keeping your cards organized. You want to be able to get to them as quick as you can, whether you're in the hobby for selling or you're simply just collecting. It's very important to keep them organized. Share with us how you decided to keep your cards organized and maybe a little bit about the importance of it.
Yeah, man, that's a good point, good place to start because like you said, we're talking to beginners here, and as a beginner, you're going to end up with so many cards. You're going to think that every single card is a hit, um, and you may not know if it's a hit or not, and because of that, you're just going to hold on to it until you figure it out, right? And sometimes that pile just gets bigger and bigger, and more likely you're not going to get around to figuring out whether you got a hit, 3 months ago, right? So it's important to organize your stuff so that you don't lose track of what you've got. Easy to access in case somebody gets interest in something that you're not, um, you know, going to hold on to, right? That's not part of your personal collection, your PC. So the way that I do it, right? I've got everything separated by league, and I've got everything separated by rookies and vets. So for Major League Baseball, I've got rookies, a rookie box, those box with the dividers. So I've got one for American League rookies, one for National League rookies, and same for vets. I applied the same thing to um, the football, to NFL cards, NFC vets, AFC vets, same for rookies, right? And then for basketball, because those rosters aren't as heavy or as big, you end up with not as many cards. So I just have one box for vets and one for rookies, and usually after a nice little rip, um, I usually give it about 3 or 4 days. After 3 or 4 days, I start beating myself up a little bit about, hey, you need to put these away, and then I force myself to just start organizing them and then putting them away where they belong, and then back at peace.
Yeah, exactly. Myself, I just go ahead and I organize by sport and then I break it down to team. Um, we often say in the hobby there is no wrong way to organize because at the end of the day, yourself, you're going to know how you organize your own cards, so you're going to be able to find them. You're going to know how to find it, and yeah, as long as you keep them organized, uh, you should be all right. But it's a very important tip. Another one that a lot of people oversee is protecting your cards. From like weather and light. What's a good place for you? Where do you keep your cards located at?
So right now I just keep them in. Um, they're to the right of me or to the left of me. Uh,
You go all
um,
out and keep them like in a vault or something like that, or you just like have them in a closet, stashed away?
so my it's funny um, not necessarily that they're of like high value, right? It's just that just the last year I got into grading the cards. So all my graded cards I put away and um, I got them in a safe. Um, um, with anything that's autographed. I just keep in there outside of the light.
There you go.
Um,
The
but
light
for
is
the,
not
for
their
the, for
friend.
the most part, I've heard people say that storing it in the cardboard boxes may not necessarily be the best. Um, they've got some like really fancy um, bins, right? These plastic bins where you can just slide your collection in and out, right? And you can stack or put next to each other. It's a pretty cool system. Right? It's just very expensive. So right now, I'm okay with just the boxes. Nothing that I have in those boxes is of like high dollar value. So I'm not too concerned about those. But like you mentioned, as long as you keep it out of the light, um, in a air conditioned space, I think you're okay.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Hey, go ahead and moving on. We're going to move on to another do, and this is a big one. Uh, we're going to spend a pretty good amount of time on this one. This one, it has to do with research. Anthony, there's a whole bunch of different ways to do your research when you're trying to look up a card. Uh, can you share with us what are some of the ways that you do the research if you're going to make like a purchase or something like that?
Sure. So the big ones are the two big ones where people move cards or eBay. You have COMC. Check out my collection. I believe it's what or collectibles. I believe is what that acronym is for. Um, and obviously you have a few different places. You've got Golden, but those are for more higher end cards. Um, and then an easy tool is 130point.com, right? There you can just put in the name of your card and search. The difficulty in that is um, you kind of really have to know, um, you have to know the year that you can find in the back of the card. Um, Obviously, the number of the card, the player, obviously, right? When it starts getting tricky is um, if there's a variant, right? If it's a variant of the card, oh man, what is this? Is this variant unique? Is it, is it SP? Is it, what is it, right? So you can go to places like Beckett's checklist, right? And they're usually pretty good and pretty up to date on listing your variant. And for the most part, you can sort of put two and two together on the name of the variant and what the card looks like. And there you can get a better feel for what you have and what to look for. And then you just start pricing. Just I would say to those of you that are looking to flip cards, right? You gotta if you're looking to flip it raw, you got to flip it as soon as possible because they're going to that price is going to go down as more quantities or more variants start coming out and people start losing interest in those. Um, so I'll do that. I'll typically just look up eBay 130 point. Um, sometimes you can go to places like Reddit, scroll through their football cards, baseball cards, basketball cards, subs, um, and sometimes they'll have. You can either just search for the card there, reach out if somebody has a FS on there, which means for sale. Reach out to them. Most people are really cool in this hobby, and you just say, "Hey, what are you asking for that card? Um, and most of the time, 99% of the time, they're going to reply back with a price, or you can negotiate with them, and you can use that as also as a tool for comping the card.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, you touched in on selling. I know that you sell quite a few cards yourself. For the collectors out there who are joining the hobby with the purpose of flipping slash selling cards, what kind of advice might you have for them? Whether it be having to do with shipping, whether it have to do with working with the buyer. Can you share some stories about that?
Yeah, so a lot of times you're going to find values in going to, and I got to thank you, for introducing me to, the card shops, the local card shops, the LCSs. Um, you're going to find a lot of deals there, right? You're gonna find in my local card shop, they've got 4 to 5 shelves wide that um, are maybe like 10 racks high, all full of 25 cent, 50 cent, dollar, $2 cards. And anytime you go in there, you're always going to find somebody there, whether they're, 12-year-old kid with his dad or big brother, um, someone my age, someone maybe even older than me, just shuffling through there looking for, something cool or something of value because um, somebody might go in there, buy a hobby box, buy some, or just, buy a big box and start ripping. And they don't want to keep everything, right? They just want to keep the hits. Um, but then you find out that, you know, 2 years later, that Steph Curry was a hit, right? And it might just be sitting in the side of that 50 cent box, and, um, you know, you strike gold, right? So that's a good place to start looking for cards and try to flip those.
Yeah, you know who's a big one and who loves going through the dollar bins
Who's
is
that?
Rudy Campos himself, man.
Oh yeah,
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 I went with him to a card show not too long ago. We just decided to meet up, and we went. It was over here at the Shriner, and we were going to like from like table to table, and he just loves going to the dollar bins, man. It's cool.
yeah,
It's cool.
yeah. So I got to be careful how loud I say this because I've seen it and it just looks so calming, so relaxing that I've considered maybe taking one of those dadcations where I just take a day off from work,
Yeah.
you know, and then just head over there and just start shuffling through those boxes.
Yep. 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 Hey, I wanted to also talk a little bit or continue to talk a little bit more about doing your research and stuff like that. I kind of wanted to touch on that one of our strategies. Or I wouldn't say it's a strategy, but it's just something that we always make sure that we do. I know I do it with you. Uh, Sometimes I'll give Rudy Campos a call. Sometimes I'll give Joshua Cook a call. But even though we're collectors and we've been collecting for a long time, one thing that we always do is if we have a question, we still reach out to each other.
Yeah,
We'll say like, "Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?" You know, can you can you let the I guess for the ones who are just starting off know the importance of reaching out and asking questions?
yeah. Don't ever feel like you know everything, right? We're not, right? These companies, the Paninis, the Tops, they know what they're doing, right? They're just put product and product and product and product out there. And yeah, it's gonna get confusing. So yeah, you might know everything about everything from the year before, but there's always a new year, always new product, always new questions, and don't ever be too prideful. Think that right? Always ask questions. Reach out to folks that um, have been in this hobby for a while, right? I don't think I've ever met anybody that has been um, one of those people that like holds everything to the vest. I've met complete strangers, in aisles looking at cards, right? Two different, completely parts of walks of life. I'm an IT guy, came from humble beginnings. Um, came up through the Marine Corps, and I bumped into this doctor looking at cards, and it was like we were the same person, right? We just he gave me so many tips, so much information, things that I just didn't know, right? And um, it's a very welcoming community, and um, you know I would highly recommend for anybody not to be too shy to ask for help or just confirm something, right?
Yeah, and as collectors, it's something that we love to do. If you have a question or something like that, uh, we just if you reach out, it's part of our hobby. We love getting involved. Hey, once again, he is Anthony Turk. Make sure you give him a follow at GiantDad21 if you have any questions on X. All right, Anthony. I also wanted to, since we're talking about research, I also wanted to give a little story. I know one of our good friends, Chris Leha, reached out to me the other day, and he had actually a question about a card. He was doing a little bit of research on his own, and what happened was there was a card, a certain card that he wanted to purchase, um, and I want to say it's a soccer card of some type. I don't know who it was, but it was the seller was selling it for $50. So Chris reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, I did my research and I looked this card up, and the price should be about $20." Like, hey, what should I do? And then I told him, I was like, what you should do is reach out to the seller. And I was like, 9 times out of 10, the seller is happy that you you do the research for them. So I remember Chris called me back later on that day, or I can't remember if he called or he texted me or something like that. He did say that he reached out to the seller and explained, hey, I think this card should be about this much. This is the research I did, and I guess the seller ended up looking it up, and I want to say Chris ended up getting that card for maybe like about $15 or $18 or something
Oh
like that.
well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it happens. It happens all the time. Anthony, like us once again, you're a seller. Have you ever had like something like that where somebody has reached out to you and been like, "Hey, I know you got this priced at this and whatnot, but I looked it up and I did my research and stuff like that." And has that ever happened to you?
You get a spectrum of sellers, and well, you get a spectrum of sellers and buyers. I've had buyers. I've had cards listed for you know $2, and they're trying to barter with me. Trying to get it down to $1.75. What do you do at that point, right? And then uh, I've had a Kayvon Thibodeau rookie, number to 25, blue shimmer. So the color match, team color match, rookie autograph numbered. The average going price was $300. So that's what I had it going for. And you get guys who just really want the card, and they come in super low, $100, and um, usually what I'll do is if I don't even entertain. I appreciate the efforts. Don't get me wrong, because I've been there. I just kindly just decline the offer. Um, and some people won't take no for an answer, right? They'll just send you a message saying, "Hey, so what's the lowest you're willing to go?" And you just take it from there, right? You don't have to. No one has to be a holes, right? You can just
Hmm.
stand firm on where you want to be at, and the cards fall in your favor, then good for you, right? I'm always happy to make a deal with somebody, right? I just I think everybody's just got to be fair there, right? Um, I've been on the other side of that where I'm buying. I'm looking to complete a set, and there's um, I need a Michael Mayer card. I was down to like 4 cards that I needed to complete this set. there were SSPs from Prestige from last year, and um, the last 2-3 sales were like $15, and this guy had it on there for $50, and I'm like, I sent him a message. He didn't have best offer, as an option, so I just shot him a direct message. Say, hey bud, how you doing? I got, I see that the last 2 cards are sold for like $15 average. So can we settle for $15? Or maybe I even said $20. And he didn't even reply back with a no. He didn't reply back with a yes. He just replied back, well, this is the last one on eBay. So if you want it, that's the price you gotta pay. I said that's fair. Good luck. All right.
That's funny, man. Hey, that's
And what's funny is that I work with another guy um, who collects. He sits right behind me at work.
Oh, that's right.
And he came in and I got the card for $5.
Wow. Wow. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, you're always going to be meeting different types of people in the hobby, and it makes it fun.
Yeah, yeah.
The other day I was laughing too because going back to our good friend Chris Leha, um, I saw that he was having a conversation on X with another collector. And as a matter of fact, they were having a conversation about doing research.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you do your research on a card, the importance of it, or something like that. And as a joke, I kind of like wanted to rib Chris, and I could just jumped in, and I was like, Chris, your research is calling me. And like without missing a beat, I think he came back and he was like, but that's still doing research. I just I laughed. I lost.
Touche.
Yeah, I couldn't. I'll show myself out. Hey, but Anthony, that was pretty good, man. We're talking about a lot of the dues for the collectors who are just jumping into the hobby. Now let's go ahead and spend a little bit of time on the don'ts. Like, hey, stuff to like watch out for. What would you say? I kind of have an idea on what you think it might be, but what would you say is going to be the number one thing to look out for to collectors who are just joining the hobby?
So it goes into what we just finished talking about is doing your research, right? But that's kind of hard to do, right? It's kind of like the college kid that comes out of college, right? They've got all this debt for college tuition, right? And they're qualified for this job, right? But the job requires you to have 10 years of experience, right? Um, it's sort of like the same thing when you're starting with cards, right? You do your research, but you don't even know where to start, right? You don't know what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right, right? You just all you see is this cool card in front of you of this player that you love, right? Um, so what I would recommend, right, is to that's fine, get excited, right? Like, oh my God, this card looks amazing, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? But before you make any major decision, right, sort of ride that wave of emotion out for a bit, right, and just sort of let yourself get over that excitement, right? And then when the dust settles, right, start, you know, or maybe even while the dust is settling, right, start researching, start looking at the card, go to the 130 point, go to eBay. You can go to eBay, and when you search, don't search for what the card's going for, right? Don't search for what I'm selling it for right now. Don't search for what, Jacob is selling it for, right? The going price. There's an option in eBay, right? When you search for a card, let's say that you're looking for um, uh, uh, a Wemby, right? A rookie Wemby base prism, right? So you're looking it up, and then you're going to see all these different prices, right? Um, After searching, scroll down on the left and click on sold items. Now you're going to see what that card has been selling for, right? And from there, you can gauge what you should be expecting to pay, right? That's going to be a little bit more difficult when we're talking about the higher end cards because one, there aren't that many of them. Especially they're numbered, right? So you're not going to have anything really to go off of. Um, so um, you can do some comparison. There's some comparison pricing, right, for maybe the same player from another year, um, right, and um, uh, and what they're going for similar cards, right, and use that as a base. Um, and most places they frown upon the guy that um, starts talking trash because I listed a card at $100 over its market price,
Hmm.
right? It's shame on you if you're going to go in there and try to bully or shame somebody for putting a price out there, right? That's what they want. That's what they're asking for. Maybe they don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're just playing it safe. And even if they're being a little bit greedy, right? That's on them. The job is on you to figure out if you're willing to pay for that price, right? So, um, anyway, to go back to the question, right? Just sort of corral, contain your excitement when you see a card that you really like. Make sure you do your homework so that you're not overpaying um, for a card because
Right.
you can easily get in trouble.
Right. And speaking about overpaying, I was going to go ahead and talk about a little bit about overspending. Be very careful when you're starting off, and especially with how much product you're ripping. Um, everybody knows that hobby, it can get very expensive real fast, right? And it's going back to another tip. I'm sorry, we didn't touch on it on part of the dues, but if you're looking for like a particular card out there that you really, really want, like whether it be like an auto or a numbered or whatnot, you might want to look into buying a single instead of just buying that product, because the odds of you trying to rip that or trying to get it, it's, I mean, it's, it, it's rare. Um, so yeah, but yeah, definitely don't be overspending on too much product. Just be very careful. We have heard some horror stories of somebody enjoying the rip or the break, whatever you want to call it, a little bit too much, and they look around and see how much cards they just have laid out. And more importantly, they look inside their bank account and they're like, whoa, I went a little bit overboard. And then I guess, like you said, they get themselves in trouble. You got to make sure you don't get in trouble. Speaking about trouble, Anthony, another thing that we wanted to touch on is one of the don'ts is like, hey, don't get stressed out. You know what I mean? Sometimes this hobby can be a little bit stressful. Just touched a little bit on right now, whether it be financial, whether you're looking for something. Anthony, have you ever got stressed out messing around with this hobby?
More than you know,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Or I should say you do know. I've um, I spent in the beginning. I spent um, more than I should have, right?
Mhm. I think we all have.
I think I even became a little bit um, um, sneaky with the wife, not telling her, and eventually she found out, and um, we had to have a sit down, right? And
It can get serious sometimes.
yeah, and one, if you get busted like that, just be a man, admit your fault, right? And realize that, hey, I need to take a step back, right? Um, I will say that I love this hobby, right? Um, and that was part of the conversations. I said, I'm not going to stop, right? But I am going to peel back,
Mhm.
right? I'm just going to peel back, and when I know I need to take a break, I'm going to have a budget for what I need to, for what I want to spend, and that's it. It's never going to go over that. But yeah, you can definitely, especially in the beginning, um, if you don't have very much willpower, you can definitely get in a lot of trouble, because that is an ugly truth about this hobby, is that um, um, it is all about the hit,
Mm,
right? What's
definitely.
what's in that pack, right? And we all get it. We all have the same, feeling, right? That that adrenaline that comes through when, the quote unquote I'm shaking, right? Hit. And um, yeah, we all want that, right? But um, we have to be able to, you know, control ourselves and do what's within our realm of, possibilities, and what we can do without, putting everybody else at risk.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, and that kind of goes with that pretty much does go with our last one in the list of don'ts, and that is don't stop having fun with the hobby. Um, just to let y'all know, I know it's happened to me before, Anthony. I don't know if it's happened to you, but there's been times where, it just the hobby just seemed like it wasn't fun, anymore, or just for like a little bit. It takes time. You just got to take a step back, take
Hmm.
some time off. I've done that a couple of times. That's when I'll usually just go ahead and spend time organizing my cards and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You got anything that you want to add on to some of the don'ts, Anthony?
Um, no, I think that's probably it. I think
That's
when
probably
when when it doesn't feel like, each person is different too, right? When it doesn't feel like fun, some people want to double down, right? It's almost kind of like when you're sitting at a poker table and you just get nothing but trash, right? Thinking that eventually it's going to come around. And as we all know, sometimes that it never does, right? So, you have to, again, have enough willpower, have enough common sense to say, hey, you know what, it's time for me to take a break. Like you said, let me organize. Let me do some research. Hey, let me see what's hot out there. Um, um, there's and be careful with what I'm getting ready to say, because this could also add fuel to the fire, right? You could be taking a break, and then you say, okay, let me start looking at, who's hot, what new prospects are out there, right? And you're not the only one doing that. So are other people, right? So then that might be a trigger for you, like, oh my God, I got to jump on this horse before, the price of this new player starts to skyrocket, right? So just be mindful, start looking, do some research, right? Just get some information. You don't necessarily have to take any action on that information, right? But just, um, there are ways of staying in the hobby, and staying, um, in the middle of everything without, having to spend any money.
Once again, he is Anthony Turk. Make sure you're giving him a follow. That's going to be at Giant Dad 21. And then make sure you're giving me a follow as well at Jacob Eric C if you aren't already. All right, we're going to begin to start wrapping this thing up before the sweep the league crew starts walking in here and they catch us. All right, we gotta gotta clean up and stuff like that. But hey, if y'all like what y'all saw, make sure you hit the thumbs up button and go ahead and leave some comments. Make sure you also subscribe to Sweep the League TV. All right. I know Rudy Campos, Derek Gervin, Coach Gio, that they're trying to do a sports show pretty much daily. They cover anything and everything sports, and it's very good. Any last comments you have, Anthony?
No, I gotta, um, nothing necessarily related to cards, man. I gotta get you to hook me up with, I'm a diehard Knicks fan, man, but those San Antonio Spurs hats are fire.
There you go. He is Anthony Turk once again. On behalf of him, I am Jacob Cancino, and thank you for joining us on this episode of Grading the Market. Good night, everybody.